My little sister turned me onto this site to try to break me off my late-night walking habits. In reading it, I remembered that I had an odd little encounter of my own during one of my walks. I'll preface the story by saying that I had just broken up with a girlfriend and was quite down at the time, which probably led me to making dumb decisions. I also want to say that nothing really bad occurred, but it was still kind of dangerous now that I look back on it. I was about age 21 at the time, and I was living on campus at a mid-sized university. I had a habit of taking long walks to clear my mind when I was stressed out and depressed. When I got the urge to go walking, I headed toward the downtown area. I honestly had never been there before, and it ended up being much further away than I had thought. It really didn't matter to me though. I was depressed as hell and just wanted to walk forever. As I continued toward the downtown area, I passed 2 graveyards in succession, and I even came across a hearse parked by the road. Naturally, this didn't really help my mood, so I just kept walking. By the time I made it downtown, it was eerily quiet, due to it being 2 a.m. on a weeknight. It was actually kind of calming, in a way. The streets were mine alone, or so I thought. As I progressed further into the city, I noticed the shadow of a man in the distance. I was a little spooked out, but I kept on walking so as to try to put some distance between us. The guy's pace seemed to be much faster than mine, because in no time he was close enough to where I could see details about him. He was a malnourished, scraggly man with unkempt hair and a wild beard, who was most likely homeless, based on his appearance. Starting to feel a bit more freaked out at this point, I decided to cross the road in an undesignated area just to get away from the dude. It didn't matter, as he crossed in the exact same spot. He started calling out to me, and by this point I gave up trying to escape and just stopped to talk to him. He was overly friendly, smiling, and saying, "Hey brother, how are you?" in an excited voice. He reached out and started to hug me. He immediately started crying in my arms as he held me. This, combined with the smell of this man, made me very uncomfortable. But nevertheless, I just stood there not really knowing what to do. The man proceeded to whimper and whine about how it was his birthday and he had nowhere to go. He told me that a lady would give him a place to stay for a whole month for only $20, but he didn't have it. By this point, my shoulder was wet from this man's tears, and I just wanted him off of me. I told him that I would love to help him, but I only had a debit card and no cash. I figured that this would end the encounter, but it just fueled it on. The man immediately let go, and, almost as if by command, stopped crying and became oddly normal for someone who had been so distraught only moments earlier. He asked what bank I belonged to, and I told him. His eyes lit up as he told me that there was an ATM not too far away for that bank, and he hurriedly mentioned for me to follow him. I still don't know why, but I did. This fellow barely spoke a word as we walked further and further into the city. I was already in an unfamiliar area to begin with, and now I was completely lost. Along the way, he would pick up discarded cigarette butts and suck on them as he mumbled to himself. This went on for a few miles, and the whole time I diligently followed. We did finally end up at a branch of my bank, and I proceeded to swipe my card and enter my PIN as the guy was within arm's reach of me. As I look back now, I'm surprised he didn't just pick up an empty bottle and smash me in the face or pull a knife on me after I was done entering my PIN, but he didn't. I withdrew $20 and handed it to him. Without so much as a thank you, he darted off towards the woods, leaving me alone at 3 a.m. with no clue of where I was. Thankfully, I was able to locate a main highway and use that as a point of reference to find my way home. As I drew nearer to campus, I was flashed by a cop. He proceeded to run my license and tell me that a string of burglaries had recently been committed in the area, and that I shouldn't be walking around at that time of night. He let me go because I had no criminal record, and I headed back towards campus. I passed the same hearse and graveyards on the way, which made me realize how dangerous of a situation I had just gotten myself into. I made it safely back to my dorm and slept for 10 hours straight. It definitely was one of the oddest moments of my life. I'm a female, and would like to tell you about an experience that I had with my dog at the time. English is not my mother language, so I apologize in advance for any mistakes. It's been about 11 years. It was an autumn evening, and I decided to take a little walk around our housing estate with my dog Sunny. Sunny is a big black Labrador mix. She's a great dog and is very cuddly, but hates other female dogs. She also has a strong protective instinct and always snarls when she doesn't know or like someone or something. There were no street lights inside the settlement. The only lighting was always at the house entrances. There was a small park with small playgrounds between the rows of houses. But, as already mentioned, everything was in complete darkness. That's why Sunny, dark-coated as she was, could not be seen, and only could be heard now and then when she was chasing a rabbit into the bushes. I should also mention that she wasn't on her leash. I only need this when other female dogs are nearby. Sunny listens to my word, and always comes when I call her. So, while I strolled comfortably through the dark settlement and froze my ass, Sunny ran happily through the area in the bushes. I could only guess where she was, judging from any noises she made. At some point, I noticed a small shadow that was whizzing around me. When I looked more closely, I could see Sunny. She ran in large circles around my general area, so I thought she was chasing something. But the circles she drew grew smaller and smaller. She didn't make any noise, and I went on comfortably because I thought she was having her zoomies. At some point, I didn't see her anymore, but I went on knowing she would follow. Then I heard a sound. Footsteps. But they weren't my own. I was startled because they were so close behind me so suddenly. So, I turned around, but couldn't see anything, thanks to the darkness. I got nervous and called for Sunny because it could have been someone with a dog. Sunny didn't come, so I started panicking. Suddenly, she stood in front of me out of nowhere and began to growl violently, which she has never done before. My blood froze because it couldn't be a good thing. And then she started walking straight ahead, growling, about 2 or 3 meters, stopped, and at that moment I recognized a figure, completely in black. This person was shocked being in front of Sunny and didn't move, when suddenly, Sunny started barking like there was no tomorrow. The person slowly walked backwards, towards the lighted house entrances, and then I saw Sunny bare teeth in front of a young man, wearing a hooded sweater, and probably started to experience the same fears as I did when I noticed him. With as close as he had snuck up on me, he couldn't have had any good in mind, since it was too dark, however. He could not see Sunny, and she must have surprised him at the right moment. Sunny started to jump, and at that moment the guy let out a scream, and you could hear something falling from his hand on the floor. He ran, and my dog followed. After I had released myself from my shock stiffness, I called out to Sunny as loud as I could, until after a short time she was standing in front of me again, wagging her tail. I took her on her leash, and then went to where the guy had dropped something, and indeed, there was an arm-thick branch on the floor that he certainly didn't have with him to throw sticks. At home, it gradually dawned on me that my Sunny did not have her zoomies when she circled me, but that she had long since noticed and kept an eye on this piece of shit to protect me. On the one hand, that was creepy, but also a relief. I was, and still am, so grateful for this great dog.